Welcome to the Love Your Inner Athlete podcast, your go-to source for all things mental fitness and sports. Whether you're an athlete, coach, parent, or professional, you will learn as you join us to dive into inspiring conversations with those who have worked to develop their mental fitness. You will hear from people who've put in the work as either an athlete, coach, parent, or professional. In each episode, we bring you discussions and expert insights on developing resilience, focus, and mindset. Discover the concepts of mental fitness and learn how to use it to create consistent, durable confidence in both sports and life. I'm your host, Hans Schulstead. Let's get started. Welcome to the Inner Athlete podcast, where we talk all things mental fitness. This is your go-to source for talking about mental fitness. We meet and talk with people that we have gotten to meet in our journey. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Krista Ryan, who I met at the Minnesota Speakers Academy. She has a very interesting story and has done a lot of really good stuff. She's written a book called Keep Effing Going. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to this. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How'd you get into coaching and speaking?
Yeah. So I always say my past life, I come from 20 years HR director. So I own and operate a family business, a community bank in Southeast Minnesota. That's where I really got my start in leadership and spent 20 plus years as the human resources director there. It took me probably far too long, Hans, to be honest with you, to realize I was the wrong person in that role as a business owner and then also trying to do HR. I quickly realized I'm the wrong person in this seat supporting the employees of the organization, because at the end of the day, I am an owner of the business. So there was that little bit of that conflict of interest there. But what I realized was how obsessed I was with supporting individuals one-on-one in growth moments and unlocking that, I always say rocket fuel of potential. And I got obsessed with the idea of launching my own business and leaning in to support employees of organizations. So in 2016 is where I took a leap of faith and decided to, I'm not putting my toe in the water, I'm going all in. And got a 2-year certification in an executive coaching program out in Boulder, Colorado. It was called Newfield Network. Fell in love with the process of coaching. And I can't say I am an athlete, but in my past, I was an athlete. So I grew up playing sports, and I found the value of having a coach, someone there to support me in getting, my ability and my strength and helping me refine these little things to get me to perform at the highest level possible. I felt like back in 2016, that feels like a lifetime ago, but I felt like this idea of executive coaching was a little bit foreign still. So I went and got all the tools I possibly could gain. I came back and I started KFG, Keep Freaking Going, KFG Coaching. And then I really started to support individuals within organizations and leadership teams within different companies on really, doing what like a coach does, helping them see. I always figure we're all in this little jar. We're so close. We're inside the jar. We can't read the label on the outside. So I just started to have the one-on-one conversations and really talk through how to show up and be your best self and where to really focus in on leveling up. And that's the rest is history. I became obsessed with it. I feel like it definitely was my calling. And now here we are today. I'm still doing all the hard work, absolutely loving it.
That's great. So Can you share, I guess you kind of shared the origin story of it.
Yeah.
How did it become your framework?
The KFG framework. Yeah. That one's interesting, especially when we talk about my book. Not everyone just goes out and has a keep effing going framework, or keep effing going is my book, Keep Freaking Going. That actually was founded and was my action step for survival when I was involved in the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. 4 days after I graduated from that executive coaching program in Colorado, I came
Uh-huh.
home and my husband and I decided to fly out to Las Vegas. We're huge country music fans. So we decided to fly out to Las Vegas to attend the Route 91 Music Harvest Festival. It's a 3-day festival outside MGM Grand within their like parking lot area. So it's an outdoor, super fun time. 22,000 people were in attendance at that event. And what most people now say is that's America's largest mass shooting. As of today, 58 people lost their lives the night of October 1st. And
Mhm.
it was a really unique situation, Hans, because I had just been given all of these tools in a toolbox about how to navigate unique situations, how to not get in your way, how to, really keep forward focused, one foot in front of the other. And I came back and I was still supporting my organizations, my teams in regards as their coach, as their executive coach. And a lot of people started saying, Krista, what were you saying that night? You're involved in a mass shooting. That's a very unique situation to be involved with. What were you
Mhm.
saying? And my response was, well, to be honest, it was keep effing going. And I was saying the true word, Hans. I was not sugarcoating in that moment. I've got 3 kids and they were in my mind the entire evening. My husband and I got separated. So in my mind, it was just the action step of survival was keep effing going, keep effing going. That night, I was literally running for my life to get out of harm's way with the focus of getting home to my kids. And that just was on rinse and repeat in my mind. KFG, KFG, keep freaking going. After we got home, safe, sound, physically safe and sound, mentally, I had some really hard work to do because I had to process what had happened. I had to
Mhm.
really navigate how to show up and heal from the internal trauma that I had witnessed that night. And I started to unpack it. And when the organizations were asking me, what were you thinking that night? It just started to unfold in a way that I realized that night for survival, it was keep freaking going. Like that was my action step. But as I started to talk through organizations and employees and myself, my own healing, I realized, is that not the action step for all of us to navigate everything that comes our way into KFG? And so I
Mhm.
just created this step by step process to really help support myself to navigate change that is out of my control and how
Mhm.
to stay focused on the things I can control, which is how we choose to respond to it. So it
Mhm.
became a formula that I started coaching, I started speaking about. People really started to lean in and get attracted to it because they're like, okay, KFG, I can handle this moment. I know what to do. So it's really
Mhm.
bizarre how looking back, I feel like I was chosen for that moment. There was a reason that I had been given this huge, unique opportunity. And now it's my life's purpose. I teach global organizations how to KFG, whether it's wild success they're navigating or a massive breakdown. That's kind of been my calling. And what I now do is KFG and help others understand that we all have the power of choice and we get
Mhm.
to choose how to respond to all of the uncontrollables around us by keep freaking going.
Mm. Well, so you had said no questions were off limits. So I'm going
No.
to take a risk here. Tell
Yeah,
me, my guess is that you got some PTSD from that.
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And how did you work through that as someone who's been through that myself? Like that's some pretty crazy stuff, pretty hard stuff. Tell me how you kept freaking going through that.
I did everything wrong first. So that's a big part of my story is the old saying, fake it till you make it. Oh, I was trying to
Mhm.
fake it. Everything was fine. I was pouring myself into other teams and organizations, but as a deflection for dealing with myself. It was the moment I realized I am not fine, I'm not okay, and I actually need to reach out and get some PTSD help and therapy. Was I was shopping at our local grocery store and I was pushing a shopping cart full of groceries out to my car. And I live very close to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. So the Mayo One helicopter does a flight pattern that
Yep.
goes from the hospital up and then directly overhead. And it's a daily flight. Like it happens 4 times a day. They have this flight pattern, as practice.
Right.
And I was pushing my cart full of groceries with my 3 children out to my car, and the helicopter took off to do their flight. And
Hmm.
as it was flying overhead, the sound of the helicopter, the blades, was eerily familiar to the sound of the AR-14 that night of the person that was doing the shooting. So my body, with all of my kids and with my groceries, I hit the ground in the parking lot. So my body and my face, I was face down in the parking lot. Groceries went flying everywhere. And that was out of my control. My body just responded as it did that night of the shooting, where we were all taking cover and trying to stay out of the way of getting hit. And I was laying on the ground, and I remember my son, he's 19 now, so this is years ago. He was much younger then. But his eyes were as big as saucers. And he said, "Mom, are you okay?" And that was the first time I was actually honest with that question, because I looked at him and I point blank said, "No, I am not okay, but I'm going to be." And I went home, I got them buckled in their seats, and I realized that I survived that night. So I survived the Las Vegas mass shooting, but the person that unleashed those bullets that evening, he was trying to destroy as many lives as possible. And by me not acknowledging the help that I needed, that I actually was not okay and I needed to reach out
Yeah.
for some support, he was still
Uh-huh.
taking control. He was still in the ownership of my life. So I decided,
Uh-huh.
like, that was kind of like the game on moment where I was like, nope, okay, I'm going to do my best to take care of myself, to reach out and get some PTSD therapy, to start unpacking how I can become the best Krista version, Krista 2.0. It was almost
Uh-huh.
that moment of like fire and flame Hans, where he just like the person that tried to destroy as many lives, I was still letting him destroy mine because I was not getting the help I needed. I was unraveling on the inside and self-sabotaging and drinking too much and pouring myself into my clients without really loving on myself enough to heal properly. So it was that moment that I realized, okay, this is my shot. I'm gonna reach out and ask for the support that I need.
So, and you can stop me if you want, but how many minutes between when everything started to like how long did it take for you to feel safe?
The night of the shooting,
Yeah.
oh gosh, it was hours. So when the first shot started, I had already been separated from my husband. So here's the true story. He was searching for a belt buckle. That's just him. That's his style. He wanted the world's largest belt buckle, right? So he was on his
Yeah.
own little mission. I was on my mission to find the world's largest hot dog because I was starving. So
Okay.
yeah, so we were already like, you go find your belt buckle. I'm gonna find my hot dog. Jason Aldean is about to hit the stage. We'll meet back here. We'll watch the concert. We'll have all this fun. So
Uh-huh.
when the first shot started, I had just sent my husband a text message that said, "Please don't be upset with me. My battery on my cell phone is like 2%. I'm a little bit nervous. If we don't get connected soon, it's gonna die. And then you're gonna be mad at me because I don't know, maybe and maybe some of your listeners know, like there's a lot of us that walk around with our cell phones batteries on like 0%. I'm one of them. That's me. So I knew he was going to be frustrated with me. So I'm like, oh, shoot, terrible moment to have a dead cell phone. So that was the text message I sent him. And it's bonkers. I took a picture of where I was at and I sent him the picture and I said, "Here's where I'm at." And now looking at that picture, I still have it on my phone. Whenever I do workshops or keynotes, I show it. But in the background is the Mandalay Bay, where the shooter was watching with that window bashed out, just waiting to start unleashing the bullets on the crowd. So that is in the background of the picture because
Wow, that's crazy.
it's only 3 minutes that from the time I sent the picture to my husband from the first shots that were fired. It's a 3 minute time span. So that was like the last picture I sent on my cell phone. So he and I were separated for a very long time. I would say probably about 2 hours, maybe. So I did not know if he was alive. He did not know if I was alive. I had lost my shoes, my purse, my phone. He didn't have his shoes. You know, it was absolute chaos. So I had ran out of the event. I had found safety far away. But the wild moment was when I realized he's still probably in there looking for me. He doesn't know where I'm at. He's trying to probably find where my location was based on that picture. So I started running back into the venue after I had already gotten out for safety. And some people saw me running back towards the harm's way, and they actually tackled me and carried me behind a sign and held me there. And I call them my angels. I still reach out and connected with them. Heather, we talk every October 1st because I do applaud her for saving me like that and not allowing me to go back in. But that was me being desperate. I wanted to go find him. I wanted to see if he was okay. It was just a helpless moment. So she's the one that actually got me in touch with him. She pin dropped my location, and then I called using her phone to tell him where I was at so that we got reunited that way. But keep in mind, we had no idea if it was one shooter, if it was multiple.
Right.
We didn't know where it was coming from. We had no idea until we got back to our hotel room and started watching the news reports that it was someone from the Mandalay Bay that had been higher up, and it was a solo individual. We had no idea. So there was just so much mass confusion and chaos. And I think that was a lot of my healing too, was just I'd grown up telling myself I'm a helper. So if there's a burning building, I'm a helper. I'm going to be one of the people that's going to run into the building and save all the puppies. That was my mentality growing up. And then when I navigated and went through that situation, that's not at all what I did. I was running for my life. Through my therapy and healing, I had to forgive myself because there were moments I was running over the top of people that had been shot, and they were reaching out and asking for help. There was 22,000 people there, and over, I want to say 700 had been shot. So 58 died, but there was so many people that were hurt and just crying out for help and looking for help. And I ran over the top of a lot of people. We were all just in this crazy pig pile trying to get out. And so that was a lot of my healing, was forgiving myself for that, because in my mind, I'm like, what if, what if I had helped this person? And yeah.
Well, okay. So this is probably like, this is actually, you're stimulating a lot of questions. And I actually didn't
Yeah.
intend to talk about this as much as we had, and you've told me this story before, but a lot of times one of the things I talk about with people in general, athletes or not, is
Yeah.
like most people don't know how to forgive themselves. So what did you do to forgive yourself?
I was at an event for first responders. This was out in Seattle a couple of years ago. I had forgiven myself because I realized through therapy and through my hard work that if others, including myself, had stayed in the venue and tried helping and done, all these things, there'd be so many more casualties, so many more. The fact that there was 58, that's tragic. But you have to remember, this is an AR-14 that was being fired for 11 minutes nonstop. So it was absolute chaos. The fact, how many people were hurt and
Yeah.
injured.
I mean, that's
So
worse than like a sequence from Saving Private Ryan.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it was a war zone that none of us signed up for and were not mentally prepared for.
Or
Now,
trained. Yeah.
or trained for, but there was a lot of individuals that were. So it was amazing watching those that were helping others. You could very clearly see there was a ton of off-duty police officers that were in the mix helping, a lot of military trained that were in the mix helping. There was a man that came up to me from the crowd, and he just said, "Thank you for running over the top of so many people to get out because you saved yourself and you can share this message, this KFG formula with those that like me that really need it. Well, turns out that he was the partner of one of the police officers that night that lost his life. Charleston was his name. And he was in the crowd and he was helping others and he lost his life that night. And that, I think, Hans, was the first time I truly, in my heart, forgave myself because I'm like, okay, I did the right thing by getting out. But now my also right thing is sharing this message so that we can all figure out how to be our best versions. And I can keep sharing, keep freaking going to honor those that did not go home. 58 people did not get the choice to go home to their families and their loved ones. So I had to forgive myself so that I could be my best version because I think a lot of us don't. A lot of us have this self, you know, sadness, guilt, shame, and that holds us back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so did it tell me like how all of that ended up changing you as a person, a parent, a spouse? Well, and then the other thought I had in my head, this is a completely separate question, is I would imagine that it's pretty hard when both of you probably, I'm sure you both had PTSD.
And we both healed very differently. That was one of the biggest lessons in this. And I think it's a lesson for all of us. I spent a lot of time judging my husband and watching how he was choosing and responding and healing. And I was getting really angry and bitter towards it because I was like, why don't you need as much therapy as me? Why won't you do this? Why won't you do that? But again, that's a deflection. And that's what a lot of us do is we stay focused on others' journey when really that part is none of our business. Guess what we need to focus more on? Ourselves. And
Yeah.
that was a massive life lesson for me. And I was watching my marriage really, really separate the wrong way. We were definitely going in the wrong direction. We were not growing together. We were not getting stronger. I was getting bitter and resentful. I was drinking too much. Like I would come home and self-medicate because I just wanted to not think about it. I didn't want to, I just wanted to go to bed and fall asleep as fast as possible. I was doing all the things wrong, like 100% wrong. And then I realized like, oh, game on. The person that tried to destroy all these lives is still destroying mine by my own choices. So then
Yep.
that really was the switch. And it's made me, your question about how's it changed you, 100%. I think I was coasting. I was super comfortable in my life before. I was coasting. I was like, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm safe. Now I live a life of courage. There's not really anything that scares me, Hans. Like if I see a challenge, I lean into it because I'm not afraid to fail. I am not afraid to fall on my face. I believe that some of the most beautiful moments are based on lessons learned, and all of the things that don't go right are such beautiful moments to learn. And it's really just set me up to, I feel like every year I'm getting better and stronger. And I've learned to really reset and forgive myself really, really fast. And that's all part of KFG. In the formula, it's not keep freaking going. It's know, focus, go, meaning know what you're navigating, none of the BS, none of the fake it till you make it. Then focus on your next step. What is that
Yeah.
next step? And then go, take action, be courageous, be vulnerable. And if you fall down, then KFG again.
Well, so when you were talking about like the PTSD and like, doing all the things wrong and wanting to
Mhm.
go to bed, I remember feeling that way, like almost like a deal, like where going to sleep, like you're just trying to get through the next day without like your emotions destroying you.
And taking over. And it's weird now because now I think back and I'm like, there's not enough hours in the day. I have so much I want to do. I have just a million things I want to accomplish and do. When I was in that spot, when I was navigating that, I just wanted to go to bed. I just wanted to put an end to the day and then get the next day started. And I think
Hmm.
that's a really hard spot to be at.
Yeah, right. Because you don't, right? And there's probably a little bit of, once you realize what you're doing, there's I know for me, there was like some shame about the fact that,
Yeah.
like I'm trained at this stuff. So like, how do I, like, why am I letting it affect me? Shouldn't affect me,
100%. A
right? Like I'm
100%.
above the laws of human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to your point, I was the best like puppet master ever, right? I'm going in and I'm pouring my heart and soul into help organizations, KFG and navigate change and all this stuff. And then I was coming home and I was a complete fraud. I had a huge mask on. And then there was part of me that's like, oh, this is not sitting well. I got to figure this out. I can't just pour myself into others. I have to figure it out for myself.
Mm. Yeah. And for me, the moment I knew that I needed to go get help for what had happened, like I was in a bicycle accident, and then that brought up trauma of a car accident I had when I was young,
Yeah.
was my wife threatening to hit me with the frying pan. I mean, she wasn't literally going to do it, but I was like, oh,
Gonna
yeah,
wake
this
you
is, yep. So, yeah, I can totally identify with that, like not being able to, like, feeling like, oh my God, like if I can just get to sleep, like I just got to get through the next day.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Hans, I love that you have that story about your wife because I call those people my parachute people. We need
Mm,
people like that in our world that can wake us the F up and say, you are not showing up and being your best self. I'm here to call you out on it. And that's a parachute person. When we're in a free fall, because we're all going to be, this is life, it gets messy, it gets hard. We're in a free fall. These people are going to pull that cord and help us land a little bit softer. And sometimes it's through tough love, right? Through the whole like, you're going to wake up or something's got to change here. So
mhm.
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, and then, so last, like, kind of heavy topic or heavier topic.
Yeah.
So what I really appreciated about when you announced that or shared that you had gotten cancer, I remember thinking, wow, like she is like, I remember you talking about all the different ways that you were handling that,
Yeah.
and like the nicknames you had for things and the
Yeah.
ways. So tell listeners a little bit about that journey and how you use KFG in that situation.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer just over a year ago, a year and a half probably now, almost. Crazy how time goes. And that came out of left field. So I didn't have any signs, I didn't have anything that was kind of like leading me to feel ill or whatever. So when that diagnosis came in, I was actually in the hair salon getting my hair done when I saw phone call from Mayo Clinic coming through. And I got the same, I don't know if you ever get a gut feeling, but like something's telling you it's not right. Same kind of feeling when I saw that phone number coming up. So I took the phone call in the bathroom, and my doctor told me I had asked for some blood work and a colonoscopy at the age of 44, which I had to advocate for myself very hard because they were like, no, you're healthy. There's no reason. You don't need any of this. But I had been eating with my family, and a friend walked through the restaurant and had kind of shared her story with me for a few minutes about her cancer diagnosis and journey. She was navigating colorectal cancer. And something just whispered in my ear, you don't have any symptoms or whatever, but you've always had a bubbly tummy and like, thought maybe you had sensitivity to gluten or dairy or whatever. So I just decided to go and get myself checked for a baseline, just a starting point, like, oh, it's just another thing. When that doctor called me that day, I kind of knew based on my gut feeling. I was like, this is not a good phone call. So I took it in the bathroom at the hair salon, and they told me I had well, they didn't know stage 3 at the time. They told me I had cancer. And I sat in the bathroom, and when you hear news like that, your mind, your brain goes in a million different directions. But I
Sure.
remember quickly being like, okay, I can do this. I know exactly what to do. I need to KFG in this moment, know what I'm going through. Okay, I was just told I have cancer. don't go negative, Krista. You don't know what stage it is. You're not going to go into this like negative mindset where, oh my gosh, what if, what if? That doesn't serve me. That's not good. And I'm certainly not going to go into toxic positivity where it's like everything's fine, because I had no idea. So it was really working my own formula step by step. Know, focus, and go. So in that moment, Hans, it was okay. I was just told I have cancer. I got to focus on my next best step, which is getting these dang hair foils out of my hair, rinsing it out, and
It's just going to be the next question.
getting these dang foils. I'm back to my natural, very dark brunette, but I get these dang foils out of my hair and then go. I got to go home and have a conversation with my husband. I've got to tell my family. That was my KFG. And I also decided I have done this before. I have KFG'd a hard moment in my life before, and I know what not to do now. I am not going to go to Isolation Island and try to figure it out on my own. That's what I did for Las Vegas. I decided I already learned the hard way. We're not supposed to figure this stuff out on our own. So instead of, I took all of the life lessons, all of my missteps, all of my falling on my face that I had done before, and I did the opposite. So instead of going to, the quiet place, Isolation Island, I can do this. I don't need any help. I leaned in and decided to LOL, live out loud. And I started to share my story. I exposed myself and had, I kind of like walked everybody through every piece of that journey with me from, every surgery to getting an ostomy. I mean, that's not something I love to talk about, but you have no idea how many people reached out and just said, thank you. No one talks about this kind of stuff. I don't feel alone anymore. So after 4 rounds of chemotherapy and 4 surgeries, I can now look back on that moment too and think, okay, I'm a stronger version of myself today for some reason, and I don't need to sit and ask, why did I get this? But instead, when we're handed all these lessons or opportunities in life, now what? What do we get to do with them? And my cancer journey was another now what? And it was an opportunity for me to learn more resilience, to learn how connecting with others can make us all better and stronger. And I would say both my cancer journey and the Las Vegas journey are 2 of my big life lessons that have helped me become the person I am today. And I'm actually on this side extremely grateful for both of them.
I heard a concept come up there called neutral thinking.
Yes.
I've read the books from Trevor Muad.
2 of my favorite books of all time, Getting to Neutral and It Takes What It Takes. Yes.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about what getting to neutral means to you.
Yeah.
And how you get there.
And so getting to neutral, back when I was involved in Las Vegas, I did not understand the power of neutral in that moment, but I sure as heck did for my cancer diagnosis. So I think it was pivotal for me learning the power of neutral during my healing from Las Vegas. Those books and understanding like negativity is the way that we are humans and hardwired. We're going to go negative first. It is just the way that our brains have developed because at one point we had to protect ourselves from, like saber-toothed tigers and for survival, we had to go negative. Well, today we don't, but we're still going to. So the power of neutral is not going into toxic positivity, right? And not saying everything's great. I promise I'm going to be okay. All of this. Well, those are all unknowns. And no, it's not great. And trying to say it is toxic. It's BS. But the power of neutral looks at data and facts. So it would be, okay, I was told I have cancer. That's a neutral statement. Okay, I don't know what the future holds. I'm not going to go there because that doesn't benefit me in this moment. That would increase anxiety and fear and sadness and all of those. And instead, it was really just acknowledging the truth in the moment. And the power of neutral is it's present moment awareness. It's doing that every single day, no matter what you're going through. So I talk a lot like with a young athlete, right? The power of neutral is looking at what we can control in this moment, or looking at what we get to choose to control in this moment, and not
Mhm.
going negative and not going toxic positive. It's
Mhm.
a powerful move, the power of
Mhm.
neutral.
So tell me more about your work with Limitless Minds.
Yeah, I got introduced to Limitless Minds. Honestly, I read the book by Trevor Moawad and reached out to Limitless 3 years ago. It must be maybe four. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. And it was on Easter. I finished the book. I had tears streaming down my face. The last sentence of one of his books is "and keep going." And it was just like that boom, like that was my KFG, was my action step for life. Keep freaking going. So I read that and I'm like, I just need to reach out to them and say thank you. Thank you for sharing this message. It changed my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, after I reached out to them, DJ reached out to me and he just said like, "Hey, let's talk. I see that you're in the coaching world and speaking and workshops and all this stuff." So we just kind of started a conversation. And then at that time, they had a lot of athletes, Olympians, a lot of people in the athletic world that were speaking under their platform. And that's not at all my wheelhouse. I'm not an athlete. I have athlete clients, but that I am not an athlete myself. But there are so many similarities in the way that we all navigate, whether we're athletes or not. It's,
Mhm.
corporate athletes. That's a real thing,
Right. Yep.
So I partnered with them 3 years ago, and now we go into organizations. We teach about this concept of neutral thinking. We do keynotes. They're an amazing squad of human beings. I could not say enough. If your listeners are ever interested in this concept of neutral thinking, Limitless Minds is definitely the place to go research and take a look. And I would never have been introduced to them if I had not had the courage to just reach out and say thank you. You have no idea the opportunities that can come through gratitude. It's just, life changing.
Mhm. Yeah. So in that, like in that journey, like, so you've done a lot of speaking.
Mhm.
Tell me about your involvement with the Minnesota Speakers Academy and what
Yeah.
you love
So,
so much about that.
yeah, I got introduced by Sindra Kampoff. So she's a good friend of
Yeah.
mine. And I was doing the speaking world and doing, coaching and facilitations by myself. I was
Hmm.
like working so hard trying to build my business and, trying to figure out things. And we got in touch and I saw her speak at a high school. And I just approached her and I just said, "I love what you do." And then we found out we know a lot of the same people. And she said, "Krista, why are you not involved in the NSA of Minnesota?" And Hans, I was like, "What is that? I've never heard of it before." And she's like, "Oh, I got to get you, and introduced." And she invited me into the room to experience an NSA chapter meeting. It was the first time that I felt like, whoa, there's this huge network of individuals that are doing what I'm doing. We're building speaking careers. We have this message we want to share. I had no idea this was right here in my own state. I had no idea NSA had different chapters around the nation. I mean, I'd never heard of this before. So I signed up for the Speaker Academy, which, as you know, then helps you focus on building your business and getting in front of other people that can help you. And I just became obsessed with it. And then they reached out to see if I would be the dean for the Speaker Academy. And that
Hmm.
was 3 years ago. So I'm on my third year of doing that. And again, it's just been another life changing moment where it helps me understand the power in connection. Like, we're not
Yeah.
supposed to do life alone. We're supposed to be leaning on each other and learning from each other and utilizing all of our knowledge and sharing it with others. That's really what we're here for. So it's been quite the journey.
Oh, so you don't think you were born in a log cabin you built yourself?
No, I told myself for years, yes, I was Hans, and I don't need anyone else's help. I can build another one all by myself. I got all the tools. I'm smarty pants. And then I realized, oh my goodness, maybe some of that's true. Maybe you could do it by yourself, but it's going to take you 45 years, where instead, let's do it together and let's have fun. And it's going to be better because of it.
How long have you been speaking, and what do you like most about that?
I've been speaking. My first on stage speaking event was in 2019. It was a
Hmm.
complete accident. One of my organizations that I was coaching said, "Hey, would you, share your, excuse me, KFG and your
Hmm.
story about Las Vegas at our event?" And I'm like, "Sure, okay. I'm an open book, whatever." And all of a sudden, I stepped on stage. I did not know I was their keynote. So my first time ever speaking was in front of an audience of 500 people. And I was like, whoa. So I just shared my story, shared my lessons learned. And after that event, people came up to me and started sharing their stories. A male breast cancer survivor that had never shared his story, another person that was navigating a diagnosis and had not told her team yet, another individual that had just gotten a promotion at their job and they were so scared they were going to be called out as a fraud and they were ill-equipped. And I realized, holy cow, I just shared my lessons of a mass shooting and so many people can see themselves in me, that it was after that event that I realized I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. I'm going to be a keynote speaker. I'm going to share my story, my lessons. I want to share this formula with the world. And yeah, 2019 is what really accidentally kicked it off.
I always ask it more directly is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And who was it from, and when do you use it?
I think it was from my dad. And I now looking back, I use it all the time, but it took years for me to actually use it. So he used to say, "Take the shot, Krista. Always, always, always take the shot. Always take the shot because sometime it's going to drop in. I don't care if you miss 500 times in a row. One of these times it's going to drop in." Like he's talking basketball reference. Take the dang shot. Always take the shot. And so I would hear him say that growing up, but I really didn't know what it meant. But now I think of him all the time. And anytime I see an opportunity, I take the shot. Like I go for it. And sometimes I fall on my face. Sometimes it doesn't go in. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, it's like, nope, the answer is no. And then I'm like, all right, next, let's go again. Where's my next shot? I'm going to take the shot. So I think my father ingrained that in me, even though it took me years to actually acknowledge and look back and realize that's an anchor for me, is like, even when you're scared out of your mind, take your shot, do it.
Okay, well, that's great advice. And that also sounds like keep effing going. So,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
that also sounds like keep effing going. Chris, you know what the most important thing is about a dad joke?
What?
It's a parent.
Oh, you are on fire. I need to write that one down because I won't remember it, and that's good.
Yeah, that is good. It's one of I tell that in the grocery store all the time I usually come up with one dumb dad joke and then I tell that one, and that's like makes everybody smile. I got that from a 10-year-old boy that was a client of mine.
Love
And
it.
yeah, so I use it all the time.
I love it.
I think it's easy in our culture to ignore the fact that mass shootings happen. And
Yeah.
so your willingness to talk about it puts a face on it that
Yeah.
makes it harder for people to ignore the consequences of them. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing that and being so open and honest with your journey and all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And here's the thing, I'm here for anyone. We're not supposed to figure this stuff out alone. The power of
yeah.
connection. And Hans, I appreciate staying connected and being connected with you. The work that you're doing is amazing and inspiring. And I'm so grateful for you.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, you have a great day. Thanks a lot,
Yes.
Krista.